Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 2023 annual meeting for the Hampton Heights Civic Association. Thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to having a conversation with some guests today who are joining us. Let me start by sharing a little bit of a PowerPoint presentation. All right, just one second here. All right, so thank you. Today we have a pretty succinct agenda, but which will have a lot of information. Our first item is a question and answer discussion session with some representatives from our city government. We'll then go over some of the plans for the renovations of the Hampton Heights Swim and Tennis Club, and we'll conclude with a vote on some new board members. So first we'll start our Q&A today with our invited guests, Councilwoman Diana Romero Campbell, who was Denver City Council representative for District 4, our district. And also we have special guests from the office of Mayor Mike Johnston's office, Tran Nguyen-Wills, who is Senior Outreach Manager for Mayor Johnston, and Josh Posner, Director of Strategic Initiatives. Again, we have our questions on Slido, and you can go to slido.com to vote up your preferred questions or to submit your own question. So we'll start today by switching to that question board. So let me stop sharing this screen and share the other. And we'll start with some of the questions that have been voted up to the top. And the number one question, and we actually have seen it written a few times here if you scroll down, so even more than the 6 votes, got some more, is related to the site on 5500 East Yale Avenue, which was designated as a possible site for a micro-community for Mayor Johnston's House 1000 plan. This site has been declined, and they're looking for a new site in District 4. So there are questions about whether it will be in our neighborhood, some questions about the boundaries and other issues. So we can start with that.
Excellent. Thank you, Mark. And good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for having us on. My name is Joshua Posner. I'm our Director of Strategic Initiatives here in the Mayor's office. And I can kick us off just on the release of the Yale site and potential other sites we're looking at within District 4. And then we'll hand it over to Councilwoman as well to build off of that. But we did release the Yale site. I guess that was last week now. Boy, how did the days blur together. And essentially that site was released for a number of reasons, but most specifically for the cost and yield of that site, basically the cost benefit analysis from a financial perspective, the amount of work and cost that it would take to yield the number of units on that site is not feasible for the city, for its taxpayers, and for that community. We also knew that operating a site at that location was going to be extremely difficult with the future plans and development around that corridor. It just wasn't going to be a successful avenue for the neighbors, for the unhoused guests who would live there, and for the service providers. So those were kind of the decisions around why we released that site. In terms of what we're looking for in District 4, yes, we are very excited about the progress we are making in terms of finding an opportunity for a micro-community or non-congregate shelter in District 4. Have been partnering with Councilwoman Romero Campbell and her office as we continue to work through that. And so we do expect something to come together here soon. And as soon as there is something that we can share publicly, we're really excited to do that. So I'll hand it over to Councilwoman to say a little bit more.
Thank you. And thank you, Mark. And I just want to say thank you for the invite to be a part of this meeting today. Also, I looked through the list, and hello to many neighbors. I recognize a few of the names that are on there, but I'm also a Hampton Heights neighbor. I just wanted to also follow up for 5500 East Yale, like Joshua said, it is no longer on the list. One thing related to that is coming soon hopefully in the first or second quarter of 2024. The Elevate bond did have in there specifically named fixing the Holly and Yale intersection. So that is the Highline Canal crossover on Yale, and that is a project whose time has come, and we expect that to happen in the first part of 2024. So exciting news on that front as well. From the very beginning, I think one of the things that I've really appreciated about the mayor's effort moving forward for House 1000 is that this is a citywide issue and a citywide solution. One of the things that I am really committed towards is, what does it look like? I've been an advocate for making sure that the mayor's office knows what unhoused and homelessness looks like in Southeast Denver, and also a champion for the difference between visibility and vulnerability. And that we know we have many families and children who are currently experiencing homelessness, and at a very high rate, and that number is increasing. So there are a number of things that have also been happening in District 4, in other parts of the district, but I think it's important for you to also know this. And again, these are all related topics, but we have had a number of, we had a mass eviction at one of our apartments, and that destabilizes a lot of individuals and families. And so this is also one of the reasons why I've also been an advocate for rental assistance and the wraparound supportive services to be able to help people break that cycle and move forward. So for District 4, I do appreciate we've had a number of people coming forward and suggesting different locations, different agencies that have also risen their hand and said, hey, this might be a feasible site, etc. And those of all, I appreciate that the mayor's office has looked into those seriously. Some of them are feasible and some of them aren't. But I do think that we can't continue to have a city respond and create more concentrated pockets of poverty, specifically in neighborhoods that are predominantly Black and brown. And we know that unhoused and homelessness is all over. And I think that we in District 4 can respond in a different way and show what it would look like to be able to respond to the call and the need and action for being able to house families.
Great, thank you for your responses. There's some follow-up questions in the chat. One from Lisa Beaton. Will the community be able to have input on the decision? And from Jill Osa, how will the future sites be announced?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I'll toss it over to Joshua because I'm like, how does this all happen? And what does this look like? So the, do you want to talk a little bit? Because I'm not going to talk on behalf of the mayor's office.
Sure, yeah. In terms of how
guess
future sites will be announced, or other potential sites that we're looking at, and those do vary just based on where we are in stages of potential negotiations. We will announce either sites we're moving forward on or sites that are prospective sites via press releases. And so we'll communicate that externally. Also, Tran has been excellent in keeping our website up to date and clear, and so we'll continue to have that information as a part of this ongoing process. In terms of community input, I think that's a really important question, and I can say that community input is really important as we talk about how we place these community or these shelters, these micro communities into locations, and how the community can engage and how the city can ensure the community is set up for success there. There's some, I think, as Councilwoman noted, we're learning a lot of really important lessons in how we engage with community, as well as how we identify these sites. Again, the sites that we released in August were prospective, and we knew that there may be some challenges there, and there may be some sites that would not work out, and we were very clear-eyed about that. As we move forward in this process and kind of gone through our analysis of the site, going through site plans, assessing costs, all of those things, those factors contribute to whether or not we keep moving forward on sites or letting sites go. What is really, challenging about this, to be transparent, is we are working on, in some ways, deals regarding real estate and situations like that, on properties that the city may not own, that we may be working with a partner, or all of those things. And so we have to kind of keep that contained within a bubble until we are able to communicate that externally, because once we start communicating externally about some of these deals and folks know the city is involved in those pieces, the prices go up exponentially, and it becomes really irresponsible when we're talking about taxpayer dollars to have that process and that growth in price, and then we kind of lose our opportunity, lose our budget to really procure some of these sites and look to make the impact that we want to have. So I think community input is really important. Again, as we talk about operations on site, expectations around site, I'm really excited to be working closely with the council member's office and continue working with RNOs and community organizations and businesses and providers throughout the district as we seek to identify these sites, so they're very clear on what is going to happen, and the city can remain transparent in terms of operations and opportunities to continue to improve and support the area around these potential sites.
Yeah, I would just jump in. Absolutely. We need to make sure that community voice is present and also part of solution. So we plan on connecting with all of, it's hard to, email everybody at once, but it's also, our plan is to be able to connect with, so Mark, as the president, we will be reaching out to you, and then you can disseminate out to the rest of community. What I think would be important moving forward, and something that we currently haven't done, and I'd like to do, it's been like 120 days. 121. But one of the things that I think I would like to see is to be able to pull together a roundtable and meet on a regular basis with all of the presidents or the heads of the RNOs, so that we can continue to have that neighborhood voice representation and be able to disseminate the information in a very efficient way.
Thank you. I will add to that. Mayor Johnston did, on his first day, declare a state of emergency on this issue and met with all RNO leaders that very first day he was in office. Never once did the previous administration ever call a meeting with the RNO leaders, and Mayor Johnston did this his first day. We've had another meeting with him since, so he's remained engaged with the RNO leaders. He also met with faith leaders, business leaders, and all kinds of other leaders, all on that first day, and continues to engage. So there are many ways he's conducting engagement at a higher level. He also has had several town halls, and we'll meet with all 78 neighborhoods in Denver, which includes us. So we will have our opportunity. That said, I would like to ask a follow-up question. Kind of more focused challenge we're experiencing. We at our Hampden Heights Swim and Tennis Club have had a homeless person taking up underneath our entrance initially, and then this morning a contractor walked into our pool and found someone sleeping inside our property, and that person ran off afterwards. How can we handle this kind of acute challenge that we are facing in our neighborhood? What do you recommend we do?
I actually have two, and then please jump in, Tran and Joshua, if you can. I think there's a few things. One, we've been doing a lot of work along Hampden with Business Watch with the Denver Police Department, and doing that outreach to business owners. One of the things that has been very effective is they have a trespass agreement amongst themselves, since this is a private pool and club. I'm not sure how that would work with residents, but we may want to look into a trespass agreement, so that if someone sees something that they can call, it changes the nuance of how DPD can respond to somebody who is trespassing with that trespass agreement. So I can follow up with you, Mark, more specifically around that. For someone in the park, if you go to 311, the park rangers also have a team that can respond to individuals who are in the park. And again, it's not a police response, but it is a park ranger response, and then they can also help navigate those services. Now, I say that and going, all calls aren't police calls. And there are a variety of teams. So the park rangers often can do like that first triage assessment of, is this a mental health issue? Is this a safety issue, et cetera? And call on the right resource to be able to come in. There's a variety of different outreach teams that are set up, not only through the police department, mental health, as well as through Parks and Rec.
I kind of
Yeah,
want to add to,
Yeah,
someone,
please.
if you see someone in distress too, don't forget about the STAR program. I've had to use that a few times and they have been responsive. They are answering calls and sending people out as soon as possible. And especially if there's an address, that also helps the situation. Unfortunately, I did call on someone that needed help that didn't have an address. So that took longer, but they got help. So I just want to remind everyone that don't forget about the STAR program when you are seeing someone that is in some kind of distress. Just think about that before calling the police as well.
Yeah. Thank you. And I apologize, I didn't mention the STAR program as well. The Denver Outreach, Street Outreach is another good resource. They are doing a lot of outreach, yes, in encampments, but they tend to also do a little bit more focused on the one-off person who maybe isn't living in a large encampment.
Great. Speaking of calling the police, we have a couple calls related to hearing gunshots, one, regularly, two, calling 911 about it not being responded to, and ultimately no one ever coming.
Yeah, thank you for that. I think that that's one of the things that's on our list for discussion in two places. The District 3, so the police department that is responsive to people here in Southeast Denver is District 3 Police Department. The headquarters is off of I-25 and University. They have a CAB meeting that happens every month. And again, Mark, I can send you the information to be able to disseminate. But there is a new commander, and this is on our list to be able to connect with him about. So I've been hearing a lot about response times for 911 and also how do they respond to gunshots. So definitely on the radar to be able to hear from him as to how he's going to respond to that. That being said, we also know we don't have a fully staffed DPD police force. They have been doing a lot around recruitment, but it's still taking time to get people on. And 911 has had a tremendous uptick over the last 10 years, last 20 years, but the last 10 years specifically for the number of calls that they're receiving, and have had a staffing shortage to be able to bring people on. So they are also working on their response times.
Great, thank you. Anything to add, Josh?
Yeah, I think just one thing to add from a broader picture, and I think Councilwoman explained kind of the challenges that we're seeing very well, as well as the staffing solutions we're looking to aim at addressing that. I think as we think about homelessness in this city and the mayor's initiative, something that speaks really powerfully both to those concerns around call response times and how we can all do our part to support our unhoused neighbors is we see the disproportionate amount of and high volume amount of police forces responding to folks who are living in encampments or who are living on the streets. And what we know to be true is that when we're able to put people in stable sheltering options, whether that's non-congregate shelter through a converted hotel unit or through a micro community or items like that, the number of calls to 911 decreased dramatically. And what we're able to do then is have a more responsive police force to those acute concerns and those acute situations. So I think all of these things kind of play into each other, that yes, we do need to continue to support our police force. We do need to bring more folks online. We do need to hire and get more folks into these 911 call centers. And when we're able to all step up together, address homelessness, get these folks into indoor settings, I think that will also improve our general sense of public safety, but also our public safety systems.
Great, thank you very much. And thanks for joining us, Josh and Tran. I looked at all the other questions. They seem to be more neighborhood and district specific. So I think it would be okay for you all to sign off at this point. Thank you so much for joining us. And again, we've never had really a representative from the mayor's office come to a meeting. So thank you for joining us and for sharing your perspective. And we look forward to the chance to meet with the mayor when he comes to Hampton Heights. Thank you so much for having us, Mark. All credit goes to Tran getting us organized and making sure this is on my calendar and being here, but really appreciate the engagement and the work with RNOs, and really grateful again for our partnership in District 4 and Councilwoman Romero Campbell in her office.
Thank you, Joshua. Thank you, Tran. Oh, you're on mute.
Just want to say thank you. And also, I am, your outreach senior manager. So if you guys think of something later, please don't hesitate. You can always email me or call me. And I'll put that in the chat right now as well, just so that everyone has it. Yeah, so Tran is specifically the outreach manager for just our district and a couple of others. So a special point of contact.
Yeah. And can I also do a shout out to Tran just before she leaves, and Joshua as well. So not only have they taken the time to come and be a part of the conversation today with Hampton Heights, but Joshua's been at, meetings with me in the University Hills neighborhood. Tran came and tabled all day long for the Dia de los Muertos event that we had at Shoemaker 2 weeks ago. And so I just appreciate the partnership and the willingness to come out and be present. Answer questions. Yeah, anytime.
Great.
Thanks so much, y'all.
Bye. Have a good night.
Thank you. So we have a few more minutes with Councilwoman Romero Campbell, and we'll try to address the issues of highest concern, although we have a bunch tied at 2. So Councilwoman, if you want to respond to any particular first that you see of these top ones, please feel free.
Yeah, no, I've been in contact with, I talked with Morgan a little bit about playground. Also, I didn't introduce, but on the call is Macy Conant. She is the council aide in the District 4 office, and she has been she's helping. We've divided up all the RNOs, and so she's going to be the council aide that's going to be the lead contact with Hampton Heights. And I know that she's monitoring some of the questions as well. So if we miss some, we'll definitely be able to follow up. Just a few real quick, so I had mentioned earlier that we've been doing a business watch with the Denver Police Department. But not, and we started on Hampden and Monaco, but also working down through Target, on down Hampton, Target, and kind of working our way here around the curve. So definitely of a high priority. Still very concerned. I'm very concerned about the number of businesses that are, closing and being shuttered and having, business or retail blight. So definitely top of mind as far as what we need to do about revitalization. I think we have a huge opportunity. I've mentioned it previously, for the Kennedy neighborhood has been designated a NEST neighborhood, which is a neighborhood economic stability, and advocating that it's not just in the Kennedy neighborhood are like the apartments that are up Dartmouth on the north side of the golf course, but really recognizing that community shops and eats and goes to the library all the way up and down Girard as well. So bringing that to their attention for connecting and making sure that we can do something, because although things are I think that there's more of a watch. There's still more to be done, for sure.
There's also going to be some renovations at the library, I believe, an expansion.
Renovations at the library are, I haven't been by lately, but I think they've started, haven't they?
I haven't seen any
Last time I was there.
but I think they're doing an expansion. Is that right?
Yeah, they are doing an expansion at the Hampton Heights Library, and they are going to do an expansion at the University Hills Library. So both of our libraries will be getting a facelift and expansion.
We have our local librarian on the line, Matt. Matt, do you have an update on the library for us?
Hi, everyone. Yeah, I have a quick update. Not a lot of new things have happened just yet, but we are just beginning those meetings this fall. We are about to ramp up our community engagement phase of the planning stage. So there should be more information coming soon, heading out to the community. We'll be seeking a lot of feedback, and yeah, just wanting to hear from you too. So that will be coming soon. But those talks are just beginning now.
Great,
Yes.
thank you.
Something that isn't on the list, but I wanted to make sure that you had the information. If anyone is interested in attending, we will be having the senior lunch again this year, continuing on older adult lunch, senior lunch for the district. It will be at Wellshire and on Wednesday, November 29th at 11:30. And I think we can put it in the chat as well, a link to sign up for that. If not, if you received the scoop, we also have a link in the scoop, but we can make sure that you get the link.
Great, thanks. Other questions around playgrounds, shopping carts, and the sidewalk fee?
Sidewalk fee has been postponed. We have, there is a committee that has been set up to look at and assess and come up with a better fee structure than what currently exists. And Councilwoman Sandoval had made a proposal to the rest of council, and it was voted on unanimously that we would postpone the sidewalk fee so that it wouldn't start at the end of this year, but at I think it's June of 2024, July of 24, excuse me, getting my months mixed up, July of 2024. And we expect to have recommendations from that committee coming soon.
Great. You mentioned something about the playground. I don't know if you, so.
Just that I've been in conversation with Morgan about it. It's on the radar, and I have a meeting with our new head of Parks and Rec. There's a lot of park opportunities in Southeast Denver right now, and so the new head of Parks and Rec is Jolyn Clark, who is the former council member in District 7. And so he will be heading up Parks and Rec. And I am meeting with him next week.
Question about shopping carts on Girard and in the neighborhood.
Yeah, I see those too. I'm like, oh, I agree. I just sent a message, or I was talking to Macy about this. We will definitely follow up and contact Walmart and Target as well. I don't know, have you, and it said that you contacted them, but they haven't done anything about it. Is that what it says?
We now have dueling questions about the pedestrian lights on Yosemite. Someone wants them to be reverted back to pedestrian triggered, but someone else just asked to leave them the same. Thoughts on the traffic lights on Syracuse? So these are the two pedestrian crossing paths, one by East, the other all the way on Hampton Heights West.
By the Gold Key Park, or?
Mm-hmm.
And then the other one by the trail up here.
Yeah, so I think they used to be triggered only by pedestrians pressing the button. I heard that they were then made automatic to help regulate traffic through the area.
Ooh. I will check. I hadn't heard that they were made automatic. I still thought they were pedestrian triggered.
They are not. Yeah, they're on a timer.
Okay.
All right.
So
the last two questions. One is about coyotes in the neighborhood, and another is about the trailhead on Boston Street.
Okay. What's the question about? Is there anything the city can do about the increased presence of coyotes?
Yeah, so there's been a lot of coyote howling in Hampton Heights Park. I've seen them myself in previous years, not recently.
That's a good question. I don't know. That's one that I will follow up on. I'm like, I don't know this one. But I haven't been asked that. So I will ask about coyotes.
Another question for Jolan.
Yeah.
So
For
finally,
sure.
and Heather is on the line. Heather, maybe you could update
Or
the
I can
community.
answer if you.
Yeah, if you could include in your update a little bit of a summary for people on the line. I think most people don't know about this.
Sure. There was information that there would be a trailhead at Boston Court. There is a long, it's not complicated. It's just, it's a little bit long. So I'm going to just spend a minute. That is not a proposal or anything that is on the table at this time. So that's the short answer. The long answer is the Highline Canal is owned by Denver Water. There are 71 miles of the Highline Canal. They have been in a process to gift the Highline and the portions that go through the different municipalities to each of the different, like Arapahoe County and Denver and Greenwood Village, etc. All of those municipalities have created an MOU to say we will receive the Highline Canal from Denver Water and commit to maintaining it. An MOU has not been created with Denver. If Denver does not create an MOU with Denver Water to receive the Highline Canal and maintain it, then it will be held until we are ready to do that by Arapahoe County. My personal feeling and thought about it is, why can't Denver get an MOU together to have almost over 9 miles of the Highline Canal that runs through Southeast Denver in our portfolio, which would mean over 90 acres of open space and trail. And if it's just a matter of an MOU, we need to be able to get that done. So I've been working, another meeting with Jolan, but I've been working to figure out what we need to do as the city and who needs to create and have this MOU so that we can receive the Highline Canal. As it currently stands, we will do nothing with it because we do not, quote, own the Highline Canal. So the question of a trailhead is kind of a moot point at this time. The Highline Conservancy is a nonprofit organization that has been established to maintain and conserve the Highline Canal. They are the holders of a conservation easement that will run all along the 71 miles of the Highline. So this would be open for, trail and recreation improvements, etc.
All right, thank you. One last question. It's a question that I had on my mind too, so I'm glad somebody posed this. Plans to continue the resurfacing that essentially stopped at Akron and go all the way to Havana. And I'll add to that any possibility some of this new sidewalk money might help go into redoing sidewalks.
Right. I will ask. That is a DOTI question, so a Department of Transportation Infrastructure.
It's not yet listed on their plan that they've released.
Yeah,
I will. An important part of revitalizing Girard.
Yeah. I mean, I know exactly what you're talking about. It's silly that it stops right there at that intersection.
Yeah, we got
and the street's all torn up. It's ridiculous.
And they also did like very limited sidewalks that only connect like Chester Court and Clinton Court, and then there's no sidewalk from Clinton to the rivers after that. So
yeah, absolutely.
Well, great. Thank you very much, Councilwoman Romero Campbell. I know you have to go off to other business.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. And we're very excited that we have someone from our neighborhood, a member of our own civic association, representing us in for District 4 in City Council. So thank you for all that you do, and thanks for joining us tonight.
Hey, thank you, and nice to see everyone. If you have any questions, I think you have my information and number, and so I just look forward to continuing. We will follow up on the questions that we didn't have answers for. Okay.
Great. Thank you so
All
much.
right. Thank you. Take care. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right, so now we are moving into the rest of our agenda. Before we do that, if you are interested in engaging in matters related to the neighborhood and separate from the pool, a lot of the work our board does is related to the pool. We'd like to emphasize more through a separate committee, some things related to revitalization, crime, infrastructure, community building events, sustainability, and other things. So if you're interested in that, please reach out to us at hhca.bod@gmail.com. Moving on, we're now going to spend most of the rest of the time discussing our master improvement plan, and we'll finish by having a brief vote on new board members. First, I'd like to thank our Master Improvement Plan Advisory Board. Without their voluntary in-kind contributions, there's no way we would have been able to do what we have done or to come up with the vision we've come up with. So thanks again to Christy Bowl, Vice President of Pre-Construction at Colorado Hardscapes, Bobby Long, Principal and Design Director, Kephart Community Planning and Architecture, and Troy Hendelman, Chief Credit Officer and SVP at Collegiate Peaks Banks. I don't know what the odds are of having in your pool a vice president of pre-construction at a major pool installation company, an architect who designs pools for apartments and other structures, and a VP of a bank that lends to nonprofits just like ours. So we really lucked out. And with these three folks, we were able to feel much more affirmed in our decisions and in our process. A reminder of the motivation of the overall master improvement plan, which includes things like a possible clubhouse and a redone parking lot, maybe a new pool. That is a very long-term, extensive potential plan. We know we can't do all of those things anytime soon, but we wanted to know what the vision was before we made immediate decisions we knew we had to make related to the pool replaster and other possibilities. So this season, we'll only be tackling very small parts of the master improvement plan, and it will take several years before we can probably engage into other possibilities. But first, I'd like to start by sharing the results from our engagement questionnaires. We sent two out, one in fall of 2022, so about this time last year, another toward the end of the season this summer in August. So we have two results from which we've gotten the information that has driven a lot of our decision making. First of all, about 2/3 of folks said if feasible, they would like to see some major improvements to the pool or other infrastructure. Another even higher, actual 2/3 responded that while doing the replaster, it might be a good opportunity to make other major infrastructure improvements. And almost 3/4 said they'd be comfortable with us borrowing funds to make some of these major improvements. In that 2022 survey, we gave 6 possible things to rank to see what would be most important. And by and large, the main pool upgrades was number 1. And second is resurfacing of the tennis courts, which you see has the second highest number 1 votes and also very high in second preferences. So these things definitely drove our process. This now comes from our master improvement plan questionnaire, where we revealed our master improvement plan and asked, what do you think about it? On a scale of 1 to 5, how do you feel? Well, only 6% of people were against or in the negative side of that. Whereas 76% were in the positive, a full 50% giving it the highest score they could. When you add on the people in the middle, it's 94%. So in general, the response was quite favorable and positive. Of all 6 big options we had, like for the long term, when we asked about priorities, we found, again, support for this multi-use sports court being quite high. People also like the idea of a new clubhouse or an outdoor structure and maybe a new wading pool. But the reality is we presented only 3 things we knew we could do this off season, possibly. And we asked you to rank those. And again, we saw number 1 was new multi-use sports courts. Behind that was expanded pool decks. So we're excited to announce tonight that we'll be able to achieve a couple of these goals as we go forward. People were less enthusiastic about the idea of changing the parking lot, adding more space, including a food truck area. So we are not pursuing that at this time. So now here is what to expect. First, the pool replaster. So this was the one non-negotiable. We had to do it this year. We've been holding off as long as possible. And we went through a process of vetting. And through that process, we were able to select a contractor who came in several tens of $1,000s lower than several other of the vendors. It's Swim Service and Supply LLC. We've actually used them previously to do the replaster of the baby pool. So currently the timeline for this is that we are selecting the materials and ordering them. Work will begin in March, which is when replastering, it's very weather dependent. So it will wait until March to begin. We are guaranteed that they will start on time, and they've assured us that if there is extreme inclement weather, we had some pretty rainy weather last year, for example, they would put other measures in place to ensure that they could continue working outdoors on the pool so that we can open on time. A pool replaster is actually a regular maintenance project. We need to do it every 10+ years. I think it might have been longer than that since we've done it last. So we will be getting a new plaster and new tiling of the pool floor and the walls. But we're also going to make some upgrades. So we will be, instead of having individual coping stones, which can rise and fall as they settle, we will be having a seamless cast and pour coping stone. So we'll have one seamless coping stone around the edge of the big pool. The north deck has been sinking. So regardless of which coping stone option we went with, we were going to have to tear out the decking on the north side along the pool and replace that with new decking so that it's level. So that will be happening as well. We'll be getting new decking on the north side. And one additional improvement that we were able to leverage was, for a little bit extra money, we're able to dig egresses into the deck itself, just to the side of where the current steps are. And then the old steps will be removed. And without those old steps, the pool will be able to host 6 7-foot lanes for competitive swimming instead of only 5. So we're adding a competitive swimming lane, which also enables our swim team to host host their competitions after the season. Also, the steps will be wider with more stable railings and will allow for easier access into and outside of the pool. So that will be the one kind of big addition to the pool. But you'll also see a new design, maybe a new color scheme, different tiles and different kind of markers. Finally, the company will also throw in a pool acid wash of our baby pool and fix a couple coping stones there. So that's what you can expect with the pool replaster. Then, using the feedback of the sports courts and recognizing that it's currently one of the most underutilized areas, except for drying off young children on our property, we decided to go ahead and do a full overhaul, a completely brand new tennis courts, sports courts actually, which I'll get to a little bit later. I saw Yaron's question in the chat about pickleball, which has been the most popular question we have been receiving. The contractor that we've hired is Altitude Athletic Surfaces. We actually were able to get a bid that was good for a year with them all the way back in January. And as a result, we have ended up saving a lot of money because costs have gone up since then. So thanks to Morgan Cullen on the board who helped set up that strategic process. The work for the tennis courts, if you want to see those tennis courts, you better go out there before the next week. The demolition will start on November 14th. We will have brand new sports courts installed over top of the old sports courts. They'll be about 5 inches off the ground higher. They'll be enclosed with new 10-foot black galvanized steel fence enclosures. So another real eyesore on our properties, our fences. So this will help address the worst parts of our fences. And now to the question of what the sports courts will look like. The tennis courts will remain and will continue to be sort of the main lines drawn on the courts. But we also hope to add pickleball and possibly basketball, maybe hockey on the other court. But first, we are going to do a pickleball noise impact analysis, which will also present a noise abatement plan if it's necessary based on the results from that. And that will help us determine if we can do this and be good neighbors, especially to our closest neighbors. We currently have 2 houses within 250 feet of that north court. Centennial just came out with some new regulations that would have prohibited pickleball from being possible within those 250 within that space. So we're going to use the same engineering firms that did the studies in Centennial, and we're going to see just how much of a nuisance it really is, and we'll do engagement with the neighbors in those areas. But ultimately, we do hope to paint 4 pickleball courts on top of the north tennis court. And if you look here, you can see in the plan how that might look. Now, these colors are not final design colors. These are just for playing with. But we would be using what are temporary pickleball nets, but they're actually quite sturdy and solid. And those would be retractable so that they could be used. So they could be removed when tennis was desired. But it would look something like this. There would be a fence here in between. And then on the south court, here we have 1/2 of a basketball court, but we're considering additional options for how we might increase the functionality of these spaces so it's not limited to only tennis. With that, I'd like to turn it over to our treasurer to briefly go over some of the financing mechanisms behind this and just our general overall picture of our financial health, which is actually quite good.
Thanks, Mark. Can you hear me? Good. Okay, yeah, this is just a quick overview to date so far in 23 as compared to last year. And then on the far left, you can kind of see the status of our accounts there. Of note, compared to last year, we had the land sale, which put about $90,000 additional dollars into our accounts this year. The land was sold for $110,000, but they took out this year's taxes. So the actual deposit was there up top there at $87,000. So on top of that, we did fewer improvements this year. As you can see, back in 22, we had about $65,000 in improvements. So this year we had something. I'm looking at Mark.
Yeah, well, I know the $65,000 in improvements were primarily when we renovated the bathrooms. That was a big investment we made a couple of years ago.
Right. Yep. So yeah, a good year. So yeah, jumping right over to the construction projection. So presently, no, you're good. Presently, our contracts are for the pool resurfacing at 161, the tennis court at 213. Now there are some alternates that our contractors are offering that we'll entertain down the road, but these are kind of the base scope. Then a little information on our loan. It is a $500,000 line of credit. So we will not be taking the $500,000 as a chunk. We'll be just using it as needed. And whether we use our cash or this line of credit, we will be using the line of credit. It's just a matter of when, and that's something that we'll continue to revisit as when to use cash and when to use credit.
And we're also building up a credit history that could be used in the future, which is good for us. And I also would like to point out. Here you see a CD of $254,000. So we were actually able to put $250,000 of our cash into a 4-month CD this summer and earn $4,000 just off of that return. So we've gotten a little more creative too with how we manage our money. And we're really grateful to have Troy Hendelman from Collegiate Pete's to help us with some of these decisions and input as well.
Absolutely.
So that is it for the master plan. Does anybody have any questions or concerns that they'd like to ask? Okay.
think you just muted yourself, Mark.
Still muted, Mark.
Sorry, my screen was temporarily freezing. All right, here are our current board members. We've worked very hard over the past couple of years to really put us in the position we are in now. We do, as I noted in the chat, we do owe also some thanks to the previous board who initiated that land sale, which has really also helped put us in this position. But it's only through the voluntary contributions of these people that this pool operates. We are a nonprofit. Everything goes back into the pool. All of our time is voluntary. And we would love to welcome others to join us. We have a lot of work going on. So if anybody would like to join or to nominate themselves tonight, please feel free. Before we vote, I'd like to say thanks to Lisa Beaton. I believe she might still be on the line. Lisa is terming out. After several years of service, she will continue to work on our fundraiser. And this year, by the way, is our 60th anniversary. So look forward to an extra special party. So thank you, Lisa. And now I would like to nominate a new member to the board in Pam Lee. I will just need someone to second that motion, and then we'll need to take a vote.
Second.
All right, great, thank you. So you can either use your raise your hand feature, or you can raise your hand on with your camera on, but all those in favor, please raise your hand or show. My hand's up there. All right, anybody opposed, please indicate. Or anyone abstaining? Okay, no. And we do have a quorum tonight. A quorum is only 10% of our overall membership. So with that, Pam Lee, welcome to the board. I'm not sure if Pam's on the line tonight. I thought she would join. But hopefully Pam will still join. If anybody else would like to nominate themselves at this point, we'd be eager to have you join us. If not, there are other opportunities to help, and we'll continue to reach out and seek folks to join us. That is it for me. Does anybody have any remaining questions, concerns, or other things they'd like to raise at this time? All right, thank you very much. We will be sending a recording of this out so you can share with your friends, or you can look back to get additional details if you missed something from one of our questions or comments earlier. All right, thank you, everybody. Thanks for joining us tonight, and enjoy the rest of your night.